So this is a tough question in startup land. When to sell? Like, when do you sell? Like if it's up to you. Obviously there are distressed situations where, hey, you'll take what you can get. Other situations where an incredible offer may come along. But when do you sell? So I think one way to express it is that when you want to sell as founders, nobody wants to buy. And when all the offers are coming in and folks are sort of really after you, like you're a hot property, that's when you don't want to sell, right? And the reason for that, actually, if we diagram this out in terms of a company's growth, that's really the best way to look at this, is that, let's say this is your starting point, you start out a little bit slow, and then you start to ramp up into super high growth, and then at some point, maybe your growth starts to mature and tail off. And so, down here in this early part, there's probably some really tough days. And so you probably want to sell somewhere here. And actually, if I take this further out, there might even be a plateau. There might even eventually be a downside. There's, of course, going to be a lot of buyer interest when you're skyrocketing upward and you're really crushing it. But you don't want to sell at this point. Then you get into a period of steady growth. And then finally, maybe there's a plateau somewhere up there. Once you get to this plateau, or once you're past this plateau, in particular, once you're over here, this is sort of too late, right? It's too late to sell when you're sliding. And obviously, this is too early because you're skyrocketing. And so the way to think about this, now, as the business owner, you have more information than anybody else. So the way to think about this as a business owner is when you're skyrocketing up, there's a point in here, somewhere, maybe it's here, somewhere in here is where if you're interested in selling, if M&A is part of, the equation for you as a founder, you don't want to run the business, forever, then there's a window in here where on a backward-looking basis, you've had incredible growth. And on a forward-looking basis, you're starting to slow down. And maybe it's not negative, but the growth is getting tougher. And so you're not going to be able to repeat these numbers. So somewhere in here, that's the sweet spot. You can see that your past has been great. You can put that on all the financial statements and the books. Everything looks perfect. You can tell the story of how you might be able to continue that, but you're not going to be held to it yet because that's the future. Instead, you're going to be held to, okay, this is what they've done. That's what they can see. And you know that going forward, maybe you can make this happen again, or maybe you're entering a slower period. So that's the time to pounce, is as you get into this kind of more mature growth phase. That's when you consider selling. It helps even more if you're profitable, because then you can afford to move this time frame around a little bit. Some companies do experience like a follow-up second stage of growth, and you can, run with that to see, where you get to in that sort of second wind. But when you're not profitable, then it gets tougher, because if a deal doesn't come through and you get closer and closer to this danger zone, then you start running out of options. And so that's another reason why profitability will underpin, your sales process. Even if you're the so-called high-growth startup, it still, gives you optionality. So sell after the early growth phase, before it's too late. That's when you jump on it.